Hello, 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 hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are watching from, and welcome to the Gameweek 8 deadline stream, or should I say, Wildcard Week deadline stream. So there's so many of us who are activating the wildcard this week, whether or not it was because you were forced into it for injuries, etc., or because you feel like you're gonna be priced out of your Game Week 10 team. So a lot of us are wild carding. So we're gonna go ahead and stream early today. Today we are, as usual, 3 hours before the deadline, right? And we're gonna take a look at potential Game Week 8 dilemmas, see what questions you guys have, and also finalize my Game Week 8 wild card, which is currently on the screen right now. I think I'm pretty set on this particular team. But yeah, we'll discuss. We'll see how the stream goes. Maybe captaincy may change. Currently, it's on Son, right? Salah and Son is definitely a debate on whether who we should captain. Couple of other decisions like I would imagine if you're not wildcarding, there is some talk about whether you should start Archer ahead of Dan Burn, right? If you have, let's say, three playing defenders that you're fine with, so other 50-50s, and quite a number of wildcard 50-50s that need to be decided as well. Ward-Prowse versus Jarrett Bowen. Do you go with Trippier? Do you go with Alvarez? Do you go with Watkins, etc.? So loads of questions that I'm gonna expect will revolve around that, as well as captaincy, right, that I mentioned. So we'll see how it goes. Let's say hi to some of you guys in the chat before we get on with the stream. Right, so thank you guys for coming early as always. Sugarbender here since half an hour before the stream, so thank you for coming early. Vincent as well, Sandro, Anderson as well, Abinayan as well. I hope I'm not butchering the name, but yeah. So let's go. And let's start with some of the questions that you guys have. Or maybe I should discuss why my team is as such before we get to the questions. Right, so compared to my Game Week 8 team selection video, where I kind of put a couple of different players in my team, I've kind of landed here right now because of the press conferences. So two main changes that I've made. So the first one is to drop Diaby, and I've gone for Almiron instead. And also, because of that extra money, what I've done is upgrade Tariq Lamptey to Mark Gehi. So currently, this is the two changes that I've made as compared to my previous draft, right? And I will get into some transfer plans that I have later and why I included these players and drop Diaby, etc. Because I feel like I still will be able to get to those players later on in Game Week 10, right? And for Aston Villa and West Ham assets, I still do feel like Game Week 10 is their best swing. So I don't necessarily have to triple up on them now. I can triple up on them in Game Week 10. That will also give me some time to think about who exactly I want to triple up on, right? Whether I actually really want Diaby, whether I want Bowen. I could even go for a Bowen, Ward-Prowse, and Areola West Ham triple up. So that is why I haven't gone for Mubama as the last forward as well. I've gone with Archer so that it doesn't block the third West Ham spot. So currently with Almiron and Gehi, I do have 1 million left in the bank. Right, and Gehi, of course, he can come in for those game weeks where Burn, Cash, and Udogi don't have great fixtures. Right, so I just think he's a great bench option. I do want to have him. I struggled a lot with team value this season, so I can't really get to, let's say Anderson, right? I don't really have enough for Anderson, so Gehi is the next best option. And yeah, so pretty much the rest of the team kind of picks itself. I've gone with Ward-Prowse here, but I can very well bring Jarrett Bowen later on as well. So yeah, this is where I'm at. Let's get to your questions. All right. Vincent says start Edison or Turner. This week they play Arsenal. I would probably start Turner. I do think Arsenal will score. I mean, it's usually a high scoring game. From attacks like Manchester City and Arsenal. Sugarman says Game Week 8, bring it on. It feels like it's been ages since Game Week 7 came around, because the number of price rises that we've had since the end of Game Week 7 has just been crazy. I mean, if you didn't wildcard or activate the wildcard early right after game week 7, there's probably, I think, close to, which is ridiculous, it's close to maybe almost 1 million for some teams that I've seen. You lost out 1 million in team value. I mean, that is honestly insane. For the price movements this season, it's just been pretty insane. So for those of you not on a wild card, hopefully your team value is able to manage the next couple of game weeks as well. But yeah. -4, Eze out for Richarlison, 2-week punt, and then bring Diaby in game week 10, or go straight for Diaby this week, but Spurs fixtures are better. I would go for Richarlison first. I do think Richarlison starts the next 2. Menor Solomon isn't fit. He's going to be out for 2 to 3 months. And they don't really have other alternatives other than Richarlison, Son, and Madison. So I don't mind Richarlison for a 2-week punt and then go for Diaby. Start Ben White or Edouard. I will start Edouard. Edouard seems to be fine as well, right? He seems to be fit. Take a -4 and get Son for Bruno. I don't really know if that's worth a -4 unless you're captaining Son, right? If you have Salah plus Bruno, I think it's fine. Evening from New Zealand, have a defense of Porro, Trippier, Pau Torres, Estupinian, and Kabori. Who's the best replacement for Estupinian as a playing wildcard in game week 10? Porro is fine, Trippier is fine. Pau Torres, you can start him this week as well. Replacement for Estupinian this game week, if you already have Trippier, I mean, probably Matty Cash if you're alright to double up on. I think Matty Cash is definitely a better asset to own than Pau Torres. Other defenders this week you can target would be Crystal Palace defenders. They play Nottingham Forest here. Game week 9, game week 10 is not that easy for them, but they rotate quite well with the other template defenders. So like Newcastle defenders, Aston Villa defenders, or Spurs defenders can rotate well with Crystal Palace defenders. Or else you could also go early for Arsenal defenders. You could have them on your bench, and then they would come in handy come game week 10. Roger says, good morning from Ireland. Good morning. Thank you for joining me on a Saturday morning. We are early today, as always. GV's a member. He says, I feel that FPL managers can walk out in 8, 9, or 10. It's completely fine. I mean, I have no. It's completely team dependent. I agree with you, GV. Game week 8, game week 9, game week 10, all fine game weeks to wildcard for different reasons. Game week 8, like for my team, I was really struggling with injuries. And there's a mini fixture swing, not as big as game week 10, but it's a mini swing. You can go now. Game week 9, it's after the international break. Game week 10 is the real big fixture swing. So that one is definitely a time to wildcard as well. So it's completely team dependent, but I do feel like you will have to assess your team value as well and then decide which is the best game week for you to wildcard. Toby's in the chat as well. Nice to see you, Toby. Christopher says Nunes or Bowen. I prefer Bowen because I think Nunes becomes a minutes risk after Jota comes back, and Gakpo should be back after the international break as well. GV says Molineux can get difficult for opponents. Gary O'Neill can weave some magic, but still Unai Emery is a great tactician. Yeah, I don't think this Aston Villa fixture of Wolves away is the easiest fixture in the world. I definitely don't think that's the case. But the thing with Aston Villa assets is their long-term potential. Right? So I can understand why those who are on a wildcard would potentially triple up on them. Why are you not captaining Salah? Better minutes against Lamptey. Brighton conceded 6 the last game. Son probably comes off early. Also a differential. Curious on your reasons. Well, I mean, I definitely am. I'm switching between Salah and Son in terms of captaincy. I would say I'm 40% Salah, 60% Son for now. So that's why I'm on Son for the time being. But I completely understand your points as well. It's definitely playing on my mind that Lamptey played 90 minutes, Brighton are conceding loads of goals, etc. So it's definitely playing on my mind. But this Luton away fixture for Son just, I just can't look past it for the time being. I just feel like that would be a goal fest. But obviously we knew that was what we expected against Sheffield, and then Son and Maddison both blanked, right? So we knew what happened the last time when Spurs played a low block. So I mean, it's not a great stat, right? And I think against low blocks, Tottenham has yet to prove themselves. So that also plays into my mind. I'm kind of 50-50 right now. Interesting, you have 1 million in the bank. Are starting James Ward-Prowse instead of Bowen. Do you have a plan for that money? I don't have a million in the bank. I have 0.1. I have 0.1 in the bank. May have said that wrongly. I have 0.1 in the bank. So, yeah, 0.1 in the bank. I can't afford Jarrod Bowen now. But later on, I think I would probably bring him in. There's a potential that I can bring Jarrod Bowen in. Right, so I'll show you guys my transfer plans later on. In a bit, right after I've got through some questions. James Ward-Prowse or Diaby or Almiron? So currently I have Almiron. Now, do I prefer James Ward-Prowse or Bowen? If I have more money, I would go for Bowen. Almiron, for me, the reason why I've gone with him is I kind of want a differential in my team. I mean, I pretty much have a close to template team, but I do like to have 1 or 2 spicy differentials. So I think Almiron for 2 to 3 game weeks, I think is fine. Gehi also, I do understand not a lot of people are going for Crystal Palace defenders, but I just want him there as a 4th defender to rotate. When my main 3 defenders that are Udogi, Cash, and Burn don't have good fixtures, I can just start Gehi. So that's the thinking behind Gehi. These 2 players would be my differentials. Yeah. Aston Villa news. I mean, from what we know, Diaby is supposed to train today. So let's see if Diaby... I mean, for the time being, I doubt we have any news. It's really, really early now, especially in the UK. So, I mean, we'll get news later on as to whether he trains, but I doubt that would be before the deadline. So, I would just take what Unai Emery says as is. I mean, I don't think there's any reason for him to be, telling us otherwise as well. Stupinian out for Gehi for -4. Currently I have Kabori first sub, and I do not like that one bit. I don't think I would take a hit for Gehi though. You could see where else you can go in terms of defensive assets. I'm not sure if Gehi's worth a -4. Did Saka out for Son to captain him? Well, there's a report, I think, or there's a tweet that went out earlier this morning that said that Saka is, or late last night, that Saka is cleared to play for Arsenal against Man City. So, I don't know, make of that what you will. I think on a wild card, you still won't have Saka. I mean, he has Man City now. Game week 9 is not the easiest for him as well. Game week 10, you can bring Saka in. So that's also part of my plan. Morning all, start 2 from Shah, Cunha, and Morris. I want to start Morris. Shah I will start. Maybe Matthias Cunha. Maybe. Do you think Diaby will play? Well, for what it's worth, I actually do think he will play. I do think like Diaby will play, but for my team, if I had more money, potentially I would go Almiron to Diaby and just start with this team. But because I want Gehi, I have to downgrade Diaby to Almiron, roll with Almiron for a couple of weeks, and then bring Diaby in if I want him in game week 10. So that's the plan. Watkins or Trippier, I would prefer to prioritize Watkins on a wild card. And even if you are making free transfers, etc., I would also prioritize Watkins. Who do I sell? Bruno, Rashford, Saka, or Mbeumo? Already have Son. I think it would be one of Bruno or Rashford. It would be one of them. I don't think you need to double up on them. Why Almiron instead of Alvarez? So I don't really want to do a 3-4-3 formation because in the next couple of game weeks, I have plans revolving a lot around midfielders, players like Mitoma, players like Diaby, players like Bowen, and players like Saka. So these 4 players are players I'm considering for my Game Week 10 transfers. 2 free transfers in Game Week 10 would revolve largely around these players. So they're all midfielders. So I don't see a world where I want to lock up my funds in a third forward. And I definitely want Watkins. So I'm not willing to compromise on Watkins. So that's why I've gone for Almiron just as a punt for a couple of weeks. I've actually just brought Almiron in after the Diaby news. I tinkered around a little bit. I always had Almiron in the back of my mind, but I think he may... he's a streaky player. And when he's high on confidence, which is currently the case because he just put in a banger against Burnley, and he scored against PSG as well. So I think Newcastle are in a good place. And generally when that happens, Almiron is also high on confidence. So, I feel like I'm pushing the Almiron proper agenda. But I do have a feeling about Almiron. Like honestly speaking, I feel like Almiron could do well. Would you take Diaby on a wildcard? If he's not playing, who else would you take with a budget of 7.3? 7.3, you can afford Bowen. You can afford Ward-Prowse. You can afford Almiron. You can also go for a Charlison as well. So 7.3 is decent, a decent budget for midfielders. What do you think about Diaby and Edouard? Will they play? Diaby, I'm not so sure. Edouard, I'm pretty sure that he'll play. Robert says, good wildcard, thank you very much. Why not Neto? I don't fancy him. I don't fancy Neto. I know he's been picking up assists and goals now and then, but I feel like it has proven to be pretty consistent. But Wolves just strike me as a team that, they can go on streaks of not scoring goals for a really long time, and I don't want to be stuck with someone like Neto for such a long time. Right? So that's kind of why I'm not so comfortable going with Neto. Right? I'm definitely more comfortable taking a punt on Almiron. I have 0.1 in the bank as well, but I have Alvarez, not Almiron. Fair? For those of you who are going for Alvarez, I'm not going to put you guys off. I think it's fine. I think it's fine to go for Alvarez. It's just a matter of preference and your plans moving forward. I have a couple of plans for midfielders, so that's just why I'm prioritizing the 3-5-2 formation. Should I take Diaby with... Sorry, I'm leaning towards Maddison captain myself this week. However, I may switch it up to Son last minute. For me, it's either Salah or Son. For me, I think Maddison is third choice. If you don't have Salah, then obviously Son and Maddison is between the two of them. Should I take Diaby with a free transfer out? I was thinking Douglas Luiz, Neto, James Ward-Prowse, or even Almiron as a punt like yourself. You could go for. I wouldn't go for Douglas Luiz. I don't think his returns are consistent enough. Neto, I'm not too fond of that, but I can understand that. James Ward-Prowse and Almiron, they're fine. But if you are on, you're not on a wild card and you're using free transfers, I think I may just stick with Diaby. Right? If you're not on a wild card, I think I may just stick with Diaby. Don't like Haaland captain, thinking of Watkins, maybe a cheeky cash. Well, definitely no one's captaining Haaland this week, I think. I say this, but I think most of the disengaged FPL managers would just leave it on Haaland. Would you start Ake or Gabriel? Have to bench Botman this week. I would definitely back the Man City defense, but the thing is, I'm not sure Ake starts. Right, so in which case you may have to start Gabriel, and just hope for a bullet hitter. Can't decide between Burn, Neto, Bowen, or Trippier, James Ward-Prowse, and Anderson. Wow. It's close, but I think because the front three are players you can actually start. Right, Burn, Neto, and Bowen are actually players you can start. Trippier, James Ward-Prowse, Anderson is not someone you can start consistent. Is it Joachim Anderson though? Trippier, James Ward-Prowse, and Anderson. No, I would think that's the Newcastle Anderson. I don't think I would go for the second option. I'll choose the first option. Should I sell Estupinian for -4 or play Kabori? Well, Estupinian is not going to be back anytime soon. So if you're not wildcarding anytime soon, I think you can just take Estupinian out for -4. Right, go for cash, go for even Pedro Porro. And just go a little bit more aggressive. If you are going to wildcard soon especially, you can go aggressive there. Colwell or cash this week to start? Has to be cash. By the way, I do need to give a shout out. I do have to give a shout out to Levi Colwell, right, now that you mentioned, because I didn't talk about my game week 7 performance, right? It was absolutely tragic. But Levi Colwell literally saved the game week. I didn't have time to talk about it in the team selection video because there was a lot to talk about when it came to the game week 8 wildcard, right? But Levi Colwell absolutely saved the game week. You can see here, Saka, right, 9-pointer, Eze with an assist, 6-pointer, right? The rest of the team pretty much blank. Alvarez I wouldn't count because everyone pretty much has him already. So Levi Colwell really just saved my game week. I have to give him a shout out for sure. 12-pointer for a Kevin De Bruyne-esque pass to Mikhailo Mudryk. Incredible. Right, I have to give a shout out to this guy. I mean, it really did not sit well that I had to sell him, but it is what it is on a wild card. But yeah, just a fantastic farewell gift from Levi Colwell. That one came pretty handy. Sam Johnstone or Leno? I would start Johnstone. Why Gehi and not Anderson? I just don't have enough money. I mean, if I had more money, definitely Anderson. I'm planning to bring in Nunes this week as I'm on a wild card, then rolling in Game Week 9, doing a double in Game Week 10 to bring Bowen in. Do you think this is a good idea, or should I just start with Bowen? I would just start with Bowen. I would go with one West Ham asset in your wild card. That's for sure. Just one. Either James Ward-Prowse or Bowen. Nunes, on the other hand, I'm not so sure that he's a good pick because Jota will be back after the international break when the suspension is over, and Gakpo should be back as well. By the way, for those of you guys watching and you haven't liked the stream, please do drop a like and also please subscribe. We are on the road to 6,000 subscribers. We're on the road there. Diaby or James Ward-Prowse on a wild card? Risk Diaby if he doesn't play, and James Ward-Prowse is the second best option in their price point. Well, I haven't gone for Diaby here, and I don't think. I mean, there's a good chance you can just buy him in your wild card now and just start. But for me, I just don't feel like the risk is worth it when there are other options like Ward-Prowse and Almiron. Right, I prefer to just go with them, and then wait until because in game week 9, Aston Villa don't have the easiest fixture as well. I think they have Newcastle, West Ham, right? Aston Villa have West Ham in game week 9, so that's also not the easiest fixture for them. So there's some consideration to be made that if you don't go for Diaby now, which is what I'm doing, you can actually just go for Diaby in game week 10. So that's currently why I haven't gone with Diaby. Salah and cash or Son and Trippier? Wow. Whew. This one is tough. Salah and cash or Son and Trippier? Oof. It's literally 50-50 this one, Aaron. I have to say. Probably go with the one you're captaining then. Should I do a -4 and a weak bench or just wild card? Right, wild carding would be a bigger decision to be made, right? You have to look at the whole structure of your team. I think I can't advise whether you should wild card or -4 just off the bat like that. Roger says, play my wild card this week, leaving 0.8 in the bank so I can afford a move from Madison to Saka pending he stays injury free, yeah? That sounds like a good move if you have money in the bank. Best fourth defender, I would think he's a Crystal Palace defender. I would think a Crystal Palace defender is good to go as a fourth defender. I would imagine you have one Spurs defender, you have an Aston Villa defender, and then the reason why I'm going for a Crystal Palace defender is because in game week 11, Newcastle have Arsenal, right? So I don't think I want to start Dan Burn then. In game week 11 as well, Spurs have Chelsea, right? So you could argue maybe you can start Udogie, right? That's a better game than Dan Burn having Arsenal. But you look at Gehi, in game week 11, he has Burnley away, right? So this Burnley away fixture here is kind of the reason why I'm going with Gehi now, because the rotation between Gehi and Spurs assets or Gehi and Newcastle assets is pretty good, right? So it doesn't have to be Gehi. I mean, preferably I would have gone with Anderson if I had more money, right? Because of goal threat and bonus points potential. But yeah, this is just where I'm at the moment. I think a best fourth defender has to be a Crystal Palace defender, or else you could go for an Arsenal defender. I don't think I would go for a Brighton defender, because the reason why I speak about Arsenal and Brighton defenders is come game week 10 you will want to hop on Brighton and Arsenal assets. So honestly, it's either Crystal Palace defender or an Arsenal defender early. That's pretty much it. Right, you could go for Manchester United defenders. The fixtures are there, but I know the way it sounds like a joke already, right? Like players like Dalot, maybe you can go for him, but I know what people think about Manchester United, the Manchester United defense right now. So I'm not gonna say that you should go out and buy, but I would say the fixtures are there. The fixtures are there for Manchester United. Should I sell Diaby on a wild card? If so, for who? Almiron? Ward-Prowse? Going no Salah on a wild card. I would then try to get some Liverpool assets in then. Had John Stone, Eze, and Cole on the bench. Wild carding without Haaland. Do you guys want to see a no Haaland draft? If you want to see an updated no Haaland draft, let me know. I'll make one right now. I think Nunez will rip it up, outscore Haaland, possible. Haaland's fixtures aren't the best, I understand that, but Haaland is Haaland. Just because he blanked against Wolves doesn't mean he's going to blank every week, right? I understand the no Haaland logic. I understand it. I put out a video on it. I understand for those of you guys who do want to go without Haaland. Wildcard is down to Alvarez versus Bowen for me. What do you think? This could backfire, but I'll just say Bowen because 3-5-2 over 3-4-3 for me. Salah and Son. GV says Salah and Son shout for captaincy this week as an alternative to Haaland. Alright, GV, let's do a poll. Right, for those of you in the chat, let's do a poll. Captaincy poll. Let's do Son, Salah, Haaland, and someone else. Let me know who you guys are captaining. I would think a lot of us are thinking Son captain right now. Right, I just put out the poll. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I would think Son. Yeah, I mean the poll already says it. The poll already says it. Okay. Sold Haaland so I could get Salah and Trippier. It's a big risk, but Man City don't have the best upcoming fixtures. Sam Johnson or Leonard to start. I'll start John Stone. Honestly, everyone's wildcard team is comical to me. I already have taken a hit, but stands I'm starting Morris. Try to take another hit. No, I think one hit is fine for this game week. Yeah, no Haaland draft, please. No Salah draft, no Haaland draft. FPL Diamond says like, share, subscribe. For those of you who are in the chat, if you haven't liked, you haven't subscribed, please do. Please do. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at let's go over to the transfer planner. Right, so let's switch up to the transfer planner now. Okay. So this is where my team was at, right? This is not my current team. Let's put in the changes that I've made. So I have Areola here. I sold Estupinian for Matty Cash. I put I sold Levi Colwell, unfortunately, right? For Dan Burn. And I have Charlie Taylor here as my bench fodder. I also have Gehi that I brought in for Botman. Right, my midfielders are Salah, Son, and Madison. James Ward-Prowse. And last one is Almiron. Up front, I have Watkins and Haaland. Right, so ignore the -5 in the minus 0.5 in the bank because I wildcarded early. So obviously, price rises happened, etc. Osula is Archer. Right, so this is let me just make a change here. Yeah, this is what it's looking like for now, right? So this is the team for now, right? This is my wildcard team, and the reason why I say I'm okay to take a punt on Almiron and then bring him in, bring Diaby in later on, right? I'll fast forward to game week 10 because game week 9 I'm just gonna roll the transfer, and the issue with game week 9 is that the team does not look awfully strong because of your West Ham and your Aston Villa assets because they play each other. So I'm actually alright to just go with one outfielder from West Ham, whether it's Jarrod Bowen or Ward-Prowse. They're gonna play each other, so I don't think you need to overload on Aston Villa and West Ham now in game week 8. Come game week 9, you don't want them to playing each other, so you don't want too many of them. And yeah, so this will be the team for game week 9. Come game week 10, right? Couple of changes are installed. The team actually looks fine. The team looks fine, but the thing is, if I want to bring in some players and hop on the if I want to bring in some players and I want to hop on to Arsenal, Brighton assets, there are a couple of ways I could do it, right? So 4 players that are in my mind for game week 10: Jarrod Bowen, Bukayo Saka, Kaoru Mitoma, and Diaby. Right, so a couple of ways. Let's say I want Diaby back in. It's very, very simple. Come game week 10, either one of the Spurs assets has to go, right, in game week 10. Either one of them. Say I want to keep Son. I can just do Madison down to Jarrod Bowen, let's say. Right, I can't have all of them. I can't have all 4 of the players that I want to target. Right, so I have to make a choice. But this can just be Diaby after that. Almiron to Diaby. And then I'm tripled up on West Ham. I'm tripled up on Aston Villa. I could go this way, right? So that's one option. Another option is I could sell Heung-min Son, go for Saka, keep Madison. Almiron can also become Jarrod Bowen, right? So I will have enough money for this. I've tried it in my own draft, right? So yeah, I mean, there's so many ways I can go about it, but the point I'm trying to make is that the options come game week 10 are all in the midfield, right? Saka, Bowen, Mitoma, Almiron, not Almiron, Saka, Bowen, who else? Diaby, if you don't have him now, and also Kaoru Mitoma, the options are all in the midfield. So that's kind of why I'm not fond of going for Alvarez. If there's any time to back against Alvarez, it has to be now when the fixtures aren't that great. Right, so there we go. I'll reverse the moves, but that's the plan, right? And then let's say let's just roll forward to game week 11. Right, I would probably make a defensive transfer as well, because you see Cash has Nottingham Forest, that's fine. Gehi has Burnley. This is why Gehi is important. And then Dan Burn has Arsenal, Udogi has Chelsea. Could be game week 11 could be the week to sell Udogi. Right, it could be a week to sell Udogi and maybe bring in Estupinian as well. Right, so currently the bank seems really low because I haven't even made my transfers to sell the Spurs assets, right? So there will be enough money, not to worry. But the thing is, that's the plans for game week 11. Right, so currently that's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think. Right, I'll shift back to the stream layout here before we go into the no Haaland draft. I know a lot of you guys want to see the no Haaland draft, so I'll get to it in a bit. No Salah draft as well, right? That's what you guys want. Use a wildcard, manage to make my team worse. Start Bowen or Neto, start Trippier or Trent or Cash. But if you have Trippier, Trent and Cash, you should start all of them. Bowen or Neto, I definitely prefer Bowen. Watkins or Alvarez, I go Watkins. Turner plus Mubama, Ostrakowska and Archer. The reason why I don't like Mubama is because it blocks the triple up actually. I want to keep the option open. Triple up is always a bad idea. We'll see. I think tripling up on Aston Villa is a potential. I mean, if I don't want to triple up on them, I don't have to. I can go for the other two, so Saka and Mitoma. Then I wouldn't be tripled up on them, but we'll see. Things change very, very quickly. Right, let's do a no Haaland draft first, shall we? Let's do a no Haaland draft. Right. Okay, let's build a no Haaland draft. How would you guys build a no Haaland draft? Right, I'd be interested to know. Spam the players that you think should be in a no Haaland draft. Right, let me know in the chat. So, very obviously, I'll just go along, but I'll read what you guys say in the chat. Let me know who you think should be in the no Haaland draft. First thing I would do is get some coverage for Erling Haaland. I know Julian Alvarez is nowhere near enough coverage for Erling Haaland. That's the truth. Right, but at least we want a Man City attacker, right? So I'll definitely have Alvarez and Watkins. Son and Maddison in midfield, I wouldn't compromise on them. If I have no Haaland, I would definitely have Salah, right? Then it becomes the other options that I think we can go for, right? Pedro Porro, I would do the upgrade here. Then Burn, I would swap him for Trippier. And then, sorry, not Trippier. Trippier. But I would have Trent Alexander-Arnold as well. That's the point I was trying to make. I would have Trent Alexander-Arnold as well if I want a no Haaland wildcard. Right, so this essentially makes it potentially a 4-4-2. Right, I would downgrade if I was on a no Haaland draft. Right, let's go Chukwuemeka here first. See how much money we have. 8.7. I mean, potentially, I would like Jarrod Bowen, but there's just so much money to spread around, right? There's so much money to spread around, right? If I was going without Haaland, I would also not have Turner as the backup keeper. I would have Neto, right? Because actually, the rotation between Bournemouth and West Ham is better than the rotation between Turner and Areola, right? It's better than the rotation between Nottingham Forest and West Ham. So if I had money, I mean, now we have loads of money. Go Neto here and Areola. Back four of Cash, Pedro Porro, Trippier, and Trent. Salah, Son, Madison, Bowen, Alvarez, and Watkins. So it's something like this. Other variations of this that you can choose to go for. Other variations, right? You could go for the fifth midfielder being someone like a Bruno Fernandes, right? So you find some funds to downgrade. Let's say, I mean, you have to find someone to bench, right? Whether it's Pedro Porro, Cash, Trippier, or Trent, you have to find someone to bench, and that person that you're benching can just downgrade him, fund the Bruno Fernandes move here, right? So that's an option. Alternatively, there is also the 3-4-3, right? So these are the options I would go with, but essentially, 3-4-3 I would go with Rasmus Haaland, right? Because of the fixtures. I know I know what you guys would think about Manchester United assets, but I do know the fixtures are there for them, right? The fixtures are there for them. Sheffield, Fulham, Luton, and Everton. So once again, this is if I have loads of money. This is where I'll go, right? So this is the no Haaland draft, right? The no Haaland draft. Okay, so let's come back for a little bit. See what some of you guys are saying. Trippier captain. Not this game week for sure. Bowen or Alvarez. Bowen. I will go for Bowen. Spurs struggle against low block teams. Sheffield game is evident of that. Luton will probably park the bus and counter attack. But have they been very good at parking the bus though? Have they been very good at parking the bus? I mean, playing a low block is a strategy, but playing it well is also something that you need to consider. Right, they've conceded 3 to Chelsea, 4 to Bournemouth, 2 to West Ham, 1 to Fulham, drew against Wolves, won Everton 2-1, lost to Burnley 2-1. Right, so how Spurs react to this is definitely... I mean, I have to back the fixture here. The thing is, what worries me is that if Son blanks, I'm going to have to watch the Liverpool match in fear, because I honestly feel like Salah is going to do something there. Right? I honestly feel like that is definitely possible. What's your route back to Arsenal asset? Son to Saka, probably. Should I take out Mbeumo and Saka for Ward-Prowse and Son for a -4? I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. I reckon having Trent could also be a shout. Yeah, Trent definitely. Caught the price rise of Lamptey, which is good. Should I replace him with Kabori, who is only 0.1 more and already has 2 assists? Also, who will be a fourth defender? I have Trippier. Crystal Palace, Arsenal, those would be the fourth defender slots. A no Haaland draft. Salah, Trippier, Son, Alvarez, Walker. Walker is interesting, but I just feel like the fixtures aren't there for Man City assets. How would Leno and Areola be? Not the worst. I think it's not the worst, but Neto and Areola are definitely better. Yeah. Is Diaby injured? Is that why he's not in your team? He is coming back from an injury. And that's kind of why he's not in my team for now. I'll just go for Almiron first. Christopher says, what team do I support? I support Chelsea. It's not going good. We're not in a good phase right now. I support Levi Colwell. Maybe just Levi Colwell is the GOAT. Diaby and Bowen or Almiron and James Ward-Prowse. I mean, if you're comfortable having Diaby, then sure. But Bowen is definitely an asset I would like to have. Almiron, Ward-Prowse, they're all pretty good. They're all pretty good. Son hat-trick incoming. That's the thing, is he's such a prolific scorer that if you don't go with him and he scores a hat-trick against Luton, I'm just going to be thinking to myself, what else was I thinking? This is Luton Town and Son is playing number 9. What else was I thinking? FPL Josh says Diaby is going to start. I actually do think he will start, but taking a punt on Almiron for now seems a little bit more spicy to me. I prefer having 1 or 2 differentials. GV says, I want Mudryk to score again. Will Jackson start this game week? I think Jackson will start. I think Jackson comes back in against Burnley. I'm saying now that I had bet on it. Sonny hat-trick. Sonny hat-trick is what I wouldn't mind. I'm currently still on Son at the moment. That's where I'm at. Poro or Udogi? I prefer Poro. If I had more money, I would go for Poro. Triple captain Son. I don't think this is the week to triple captain. I wouldn't triple captain Son. Famous last words. Feel like price changes are more aggressive this season, or is it my imagination? I actually do think that's the case. I actually do think like they ramped up the price. I mean, nobody knows how the algorithm works for price changes, but it definitely does feel like they ramped it up this season. It's quite ridiculous the way price changes are happening this season. This week's going to be rough for me, not on a wild card. To be fair, if you're not on a wild card, it's about riding it out. Your advantage would come in game week 10. If assuming you're wild carding then, right? Did Saka, Morris to Diaby, Watkins with -4 this week? Worth it with Mbuemo bench cover, but Diaby starts as it for me. Yeah, sure. Right, if you've done the move, I think you just start Diaby. Dawn says, which one? Estupinian to Taylor and Alvarez to Watkins, or Estupinian to Anderson, Gehi, and Flecken to... Oh, that is confusing. That is confusing. Not sure. There's so many moves there. Ron says Pedro versus Cash. I want to have both. I want to start Pedro Porro and Cash. Who would you be benching though? If you're transferring one in, I would prioritize Spurs for now. When do you reckon the next double is? Not anytime soon. I don't think it's anytime soon. Who is the best 4th defender? Second, Newcastle. Right, I've said this. I think it's Crystal Palace defenders or Arsenal defenders. If you're fine with Manchester United assets, then maybe Dalot. Maybe. What do you think the best formation is for a no Haaland wildcard? I don't know how to spread the funds. I still think like the best formation for a no Haaland wildcard would be a 3-5-2. Right, so if I bring us back to the draft, I still think it would be a 3-5-2. So let's do a 3-5-2, right? Let's put Archer here for Haaland and see how high I can get to for the midfielder. Right, I'll just give myself a buffer of say minus 1.0 because my team value is quite low. I think some of you guys would definitely have a higher team value. Trent, Trippier, and Cash, I think for me non-negotiables. Potentially Bowen down to James Ward-Prowse to fund Bruno in this spot here, right, for these fixtures potentially, right? And then of course Pedro Porro down. You could go without a Spurs defender then. I mean Pedro Porro down to, let's say, Mark Gahey. Right, so minus 1.6. I think my team value is definitely very, very low. Right, I've struggled with team value, but I think you can actually afford this team. I've definitely seen some of these drafts on circulating on Twitter. So I do think like a draft like this is something I would go with for no Haaland, which I think is actually pretty strong. Right, you have loads of assets that I think could do very, very well in the next couple of weeks. FPL Josh says team value is 104.5. That's insane. And this draft is easily affordable. Easily affordable. Dusty Thuner says, I can see these anti-Haaland drafts crumble. But I mean, if you're going without Haaland, then definitely one of your advantages would be that you need all your other better assets to really return. So let's say Trippier versus Dan Burn. You need Trippier to get those assists, right? Trent, you need him to do very well, right? You need Liverpool to keep clean sheets there. Differentials like Bruno Fernandes as well, let's say, you need him to really do well against. I mean, the thing about no Haaland wildcard is your alternatives had better deliver, right? If not, you may as well just use the funds and go for Haaland, right? Because the thing about Haaland is you're pretty much set that at least he returns in a couple of 5 games. I think it would be very rare to see him blank every single game, but it's possible that an alternative can definitely blank. Why I decided to go for Almiron? I asked you a few days ago and you said he has bad fixtures. Is it better than Neto? Well, it's because I only need Almiron for 2 to 3 game weeks. I only need Almiron for 2 to 3 game weeks, and the 2 to 3 game week horizon is pretty alright for Newcastle. No Salah draft. Right, I'll get the no Salah draft in a bit. I'll get to the no Salah draft in a bit. BJ says, let's get on 100 likes. For those of you who are watching and you haven't liked, please drop a like. Please drop a like. Right, take a -4 for Estupinian to Taylor and Alvarez to Watkins and Botman to Gahey. Then Turner to Leno next week. Have to take Botman out today to avoid the price drop, because if he drops, I can't add Turner to Leno. Estupinian, Taylor, and Alvarez to Watkins. I think the -4 is alright. The -4 sounds fine to me. This Bowen or Odegaard, I would prioritize Bowen. Richarlison, a good differential. I think he starts the next few. And Spurs are struggling in terms of attacking alternatives, so I definitely would say that Richarlison is a good differential. Definitely. Right, let's get to the no Salah draft. Just give me a moment. Let's get to the no Salah draft. Okay, let me just pull it up. Alright, so let's reverse all the moves. Okay. I'm going to once again give myself a bit of buffer here. Right, so for a no Salah draft, you would have Haaland. Let's bring Watkins in because I really want Watkins. For no Salah, I think you can afford going for Trippier. Here would be Areola as well. You would have Matty Cash. And you would have Udogie or a Spurs defender. Let's bring the team value of the bench players to a minimum. let's say this is Gehi. Alright, so Son, Madison. Right, so a no Salah draft. I think you could really do loads of things with this no Salah draft. I would have some coverage, so I would still have Luis Diaz if you have a no Salah draft. Let's go for Jarrod Bowen. And then your fifth midfielder. So, I mean, you have 7.8 for your fifth midfielder. You could go so many places with this. It could be Diaby if you're fine to have him. Your funds are so well spread. Your funds are so well spread. Right, so, I mean, a no Salah draft actually looks really good. I mean, have to say, right? Then your 1.1, you can be upgrading. I mean, if I had so much money in the bank, I would actually go early on players like Saliba, because I would just want an Arsenal defender in game week 11, right? So I would go for this team. I think it's definitely something I would consider. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I mean, it looks really good. I'm gonna admit it looks really, really good. If you are alright with the 3-4-3 formation though, you could just upgrade Mubama to someone, right? You just reverse the Saliba move. If you're alright with the 3-4-3 formation, your third forward could actually be Darwin Núñez, right? So these would be my no Salah draft. I'll definitely still have Liverpool players, right? That one still stands. So it's either this 3-4-3 or the 3-5-2 we saw just now. Right, so that's your no Salah draft. For those of you guys who are considering no Salah, this is probably something it would look like. Right. Okay, so I think this is pretty much where I'm at. Not sure if I am lagging or something. Let's check. All right. Cucurella or Lascelles, wow, don't really like either. Don't really like either of them. What a different looking draft. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you don't have Salah, you could go so many different ways, right? If you don't have Salah, you could go so many different ways. You don't have Haaland as well. And the possibilities are endless, honestly. Porro in a 4-4-2 or Bowen in a 3-5-2 to start. Bowen in a 3-5-2. Cucurella looks, for this game week, looks great, and I hope he gets an assist. I think he will start this game week. I mean, the thing with Chelsea is just they're so unpredictable. They're so unpredictable. Bench 1, Anderson, Morris, Mbeumo, and Elwaniyi. Probably Morris. Bench Porro who plays Luton, or Bowen who plays Newcastle. Whew. I'll be very uncomfortable benching Bowen though. Sanchez, Trippier, Porro, Cash, Son, Madison, Odegaard. Alright. Yeah, I'll be very uncomfortable to bench Pedro Porro. That's the thing. Watch out, Lyle Foster, 5 million forward this season. He's going to the dark horse of the season. Definitely there's a potential. There's a potential. Right, so this is it. Right, I'm pretty much set. I mean, barring any team news. I mean, let's take a look if there's anything else that's going on. But barring any team news, I honestly think this is what I'm gonna roll with. Yeah, I think this is pretty much my team. I mean, we've taken a while to get to this wildcard, but I think I'm actually happy with this. Right, so I'll start Turner, Udogi, Cash, Gehi. The only thing I'm not 100% about is captaincy. Right, I'm just not certain about captaincy. I would say, right, the poll right now is 58% Son and 29% Salah. I mean, I just can't see Son not scoring. I mean, I can say the same for against Sheffield, but I honestly can't see Son not scoring against Luton Town. So I think it has to be the early kickoff then. I think it has to be the early kickoff. Yeah, I'll probably leave it on Son. I think this is where I'm at. Right, so pretty much a 3-5-2, 1 million in the bank. First on the bench is currently Archer, but I'm thinking whether I should put Burn first on the bench, but I think the starting 11 stays the same. Right, so this is pretty much what I'm going to go with. Last questions before we end the stream. Do drop them in if I haven't answered your questions. Daniel says, I made really torn on my wildcard. Is going without Haaland really doable? Going without Haaland is doable as long as you have a route to bring him back. Because if there's any time to go against Haaland now, I think this is the time. There's enough reason to go without him. But definitely have a plan to bring him back later. Definitely have a plan. Ward-Prowse and Diaby or Bowen and Neto? Ward-Prowse and Diaby. I think I will captain Salah. I think Son should come off early. For who then? That's one of the things, right? When Menno Solomon got injured, it basically just brings Son's minutes up, right? Because the way I see it when I received the news, it was as if, yes, Richarlison is immediately a nailed starter then. But for me, the way I see it is also that Son's minutes just goes up. There's no viable replacement, right? Good luck, Kelsang. Pedro Porro or Udogi on a wild card. I would prefer Pedro Porro if I had the money. Yep, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so thank you guys for tuning in. This is going to be my Game Week 8 wildcard. Bar any last minute changes. Of course, I will post my team on Twitter. I will post my team, or I mean, whatever you call it, X. I would also post my team on Instagram as well. So do follow me there if you do want to check out the final team, but it's probably going to be very, very close to this. It's just slight things I haven't decided yet, which is captaincy, whether I really want to put it on Son. It's probably 70-30 now. Archer, do I put him second on the bench or first on the bench? And that's pretty much it. Alright, so thank you guys for watching. Let's hope Game Week 8 goes better than Game Week 7. Right, Game Week 7 was an absolute horror show. Right, and also hopefully the players don't get injured, because if they keep getting injured, we're going to struggle every week. So international break, let's hope the players get a good rest and then we come back again. Right, so there we go. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate all the support on the content this week as well. It's been pretty awesome. All the likes, all the subscribes, everything. I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you in the Game Week 9 content, which will be, it won't be every day, or it wouldn't be so hectic for the first week at least, because it's the international break, right? So maybe 2 to 3 videos in the first week, and then we'll kick on for normal content the week after. So I'll see you guys then. All the best for Game Week 8, and I will catch you guys very, very soon. Thank you for all the members as well. Toby, GV, all of you guys in the chat. Roger, thank you for moderating as well, and I'll catch you guys in more Game Week 9 content. Game week 9 already, right? Game week 9 content very soon. Bye bye.